Let's speak with Ryan Sabey, Deputy Political Editor over there at The Sun. Ryan, good afternoon to you.
Afternoon, Ian.
This seems to be, we know budgets have leaked like a sieve for the last few years. This one has got a PhD in it, for goodness sake. We're almost getting the entire budget now. So what we seem to have here, and correct me if I'm wrong, is a government that has said, oh, God, we were going to raise income tax and break our manifesto pledge. We've realised that is so lethal and toxic to us, we can't do it. So instead, we'll have a smorgasbord of other taxes, including the milkshake tax. Is that about right, how you're reading it?
Yeah, effectively that. So I think up until last week, Rachel Reeves had laid the groundwork for raising income tax. She even held that very rare, that unusual press conference and that speech in Downing Street last week. Now, if there was a sign that someone was going to raise income tax, that was it. She said that everyone must do their bit. So the whole country was ready. This was, in some ways, many ways, pitch rolling for that income tax rise. Now, at the end of last week, Thursday night into Friday, the decision had been made in the Treasury not to do this. Now, there are two sort of schools of thought of why that decision was made. Was it because, the independent budget watchdog had come back and said things aren't quite as bad as what they seem? Now, it seems like that is the case. But also, the second reason, the political backlash from those within Cabinet, Labour MPs, had been so much that the government, Rachel Reeves, Keir Starmer, just couldn't go ahead with that income tax rise. You can just imagine any time a backbench MP, any MP knocking on doors in a Labour constituency, asking whether they should be trusted, they just wouldn't be, because Labour went into that last election promising not to raise income tax, VAT, national insurance. And it's like, I think the thing is with this, it was so totemic that to go back on that, it wasn't just a small part of the manifesto, it was the central part of it. So to go back on that, it would have hit levels of trust.
And of course, it would have come in a long line of disappointing moments. It was only half an hour after becoming Prime Minister, of course, that they decided to scrap winter fuel allowance. There were other things, and there's been no honeymoon period for Starmer. And he's up against it, because I was trying to think of any positive news that's really come out of this administration. It's quite hard. I'm sure there's something in there somewhere. I'm being generous here, Ryan, but it's been tough. So something as totemic as breaking the biggest of your manifesto pledges, they wouldn't have recovered from, would they?
No, I mean, look at where they are in the polls. They really are trailing behind reform. Now, it's not just on the right of the Labour Party that Sir Keir Starmer has to look out. He's also got to worry about on his left, whether it's the rise of the Greens, it's the Liberal Democrats, whether it's this new Jeremy Corbyn, Zara Sultana outfit, your party, that he has to be concerned about. So he really is kind of stuck in the middle. Now, Sir Keir may point to successes, on the world stage that he may well have been central to, but domestically, things that have been so tough, whether it's, you can go back to, as you say, winter fuel, go back to national insurance increases at the budget last year, losing a succession of ministers, whether it's Angela Rayner, losing your US ambassador, Peter Mandelson. And then you had the botched briefing war last week against Wes Streeting. So the Prime Minister, maybe it's his own fault. Many people would say that it is, but he can't catch a break, and he's falling behind drastically in the polls. And the trouble is, unless there's a good budget, the end could come sooner than what we think.
Yeah, I think that. I know Farage is predicting a 2027 election, and who knows? And then of course, between now and 2027, we've got the local elections next year. That is pretty seismic stuff, because we're not talking about the odd parish council. We're talking Wales, Scotland, mayoralties. This is big, Ryan.
Yeah, it's going to be the big electoral test. Now, next May, there's going to be elections in Scotland, Wales, and all across England in county councils, town halls. And if that goes badly for Sir Keir, I spoke to one senior Labour figure this morning, said that, will he even get to May? Will the patience just run out before then? If it's a bad budget, it's a bad May, People realise that the reception they receive in their constituencies at weekends when they go back is not positive at all. People are just going to lose patience, and they are going to look for an alternative. There's a few contenders. People would point to Angela Rayner, would they point to Shabana Mahmood, would they point to Wes Streeting? So these people, if they see that the writing's on the wall, if they're not already, they will be positioning themselves and trying to sort of gain the trust of fellow MPs. So when the moment does come to launch a campaign, that they will be ready.
I wonder, just to go back to where we began this, Ryan, a final point, these smaller taxes, I mean, they're not small in terms of, they're eye-watering, the numbers, 50 million, 100 million, but, they're in the grander scheme of things, having, 24 small taxes out there rather than a big tax. Do the electorate, I mean, one would assume they do some kind of surveying on this. Do you think the electorate prefer that? It's a tax on what you're spending rather than a tax on what you're earning, I suppose.
Yeah, I think the big trouble, if you raise income tax, everyone knows where they stand. It's clean, and also it guarantees income into the Treasury, so the Treasury know where they are. And I think the trouble is when you've got maybe 10, 12 smaller taxes that raise a similar amount, probably 2 billion, 3 billion here, I think you start to annoy real swathes of society. So everywhere you look, there's a constant reminder that you're being taxed, whether there's arguments, there's proposals about maybe fruit machines in pubs being taxed with this machine games duty. Now people just need to look over in the corner in the pub and realize, oh, that's really hitting the pubs. The taxes have gone up here or there. So I think that is the trouble with not just having sort of one central plank of income. And I think they have to be really, really careful. And the trouble is, if a budget is well delivered on the actual budget day, which is next Wednesday, sometimes that's seen as a bad thing because it soon unravels. Give it 24, 48 hours. When we go through the small print, things can go very, very wrong very, very quickly.
Yeah, they can indeed. It's not going to be dull. Ryan, thank you as ever. Ryan Sabey is the Deputy Political Editor over there at The Sun.